Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Such a beautiful day out here today, but that belies the fact that we are awaiting a storm that should be hitting us sometime tonight and should last until the better part of tomorrow. So we're supposed to get quite a few inches of snow on the ground, but for now we will just take advantage of this beautiful calm before the storm. So let's jump into the Roxor here and head out for a short drive. Quite tall. There, warming up nicely. Okay, get that in gear. Here we go. So I have had my Roxor for a little over 3 years, and so far I am quite pleased with my Roxor. But today I was thinking about the Roxor in general, and the question I asked myself was, is the Roxor a reliable vehicle compared to other UTVs on the market? Would you say that the Roxor is more reliable, or even as a standalone vehicle? That is the question I had. Well, let's try to talk about the Roxor. So first of all, we can talk about the construction, which, as you know, is a steel boxed frame that you can see right here. So not like an angle iron or a C section, but rather a boxed frame, and that's on both sides, with also the very nice cross members. And you can see they have those openings where you can actually make sure that there isn't any moisture that's trapped inside. You can hose it down after going maybe on muddy trails or salty roads. So on that aspect, the frame is very sturdy and will give many years of service. The next thing I want to talk about is the body. So this is a steel body. It may look all glossy and beautiful, like it's almost like it's plastic, but it's actually made of very thick, heavy-duty gauge steel. So on that note, I think it's also quite solid, and it shouldn't give any problems for many years. You might have some rust issues in case the paint protection or the protective layers that they have on there are breached, and then you have like salt. You drive through on salty roads, and you allow your Roxor to sit in that condition without hosing it down. Then you might start having some issues with your body panels starting to rust. Also bear in mind, if you start drilling on many spots on your body, then you might expose the bare steel. And I think the steel that they have over in India, it's not made for to the same conditions like the ones in the United States, where salt is expected on the road. Over there, I believe they don't have too many roads where they apply salt in winter. So the steel is made to be more resilient, heavier, but not corrosion resistant. Now let's talk about the drivetrain. For the drivetrain, the Roxor has a 2.5 liter turbodiesel engine coupled to a manual gearbox for the most part. A few automatics were made. Now this is a very solid engine. It has proven itself over use many years in India, very harsh conditions, and it's considered generally to be a very reliable power plant. Equally, the transmission being a manual, helps the Roxor in that it requires very little maintenance, and once you master how to drive a stick shift, then you can expect to get many years of service from your clutch. So as for the drivetrain, there hasn't been any major problems reported. You would have problems with the starter, and that was common for people who go into deep water. When you ford deep water with the Roxor, then you have water ingress into the starter, and ultimately that leads to the starter failing. Also, you could have mud that gets into the starter and interferes with the starter mechanism when you try to start the Roxor. So for the drivetrain, it's pretty solid. Now, main areas where people have had problems with the Roxor do not actually affect drivability. It's mostly like the gauge cluster that would die, or it would be stuff like the starter going out. But for the engine itself, the transmission and the driveline, you don't really have that many problems with those. Some people went ahead and modified the bump stop for the steering mechanism, which you can see. Where's the bolt? It keeps hiding on me. I always have a hard time locating it. There it is. So yeah, when you modify that bump stop to allow the Roxor to turn in a tighter radius, then you start having issues with your front axle, where you can break the CV joint on the front. Also, I expect that people will start having problems, especially people like myself who have put on a very high lift. Here is a 5.5 inch lift on the Roxor. As you see, you can see it affects the angle of the drive line, so that if it's as close to vertical as possible, that is when you have the least amount of strain on the drive line. But when you modify it like I have done, then you have a little bit more strain on the drive line, and ultimately the CV joints on the propeller shaft will need to be replaced. I haven't been able to source out the parts yet. I haven't looked, but I'm sure they are readily available, or equivalent will be readily available in automotive parts shops. So thereabouts is all what I have to talk about the Roxor. The electronics, the wiring is very simple, very few things to go wrong. The wiring is done with very good gauge wire. The circuit is well laid out. The fuse boxes, both the one inside and the distribution boxes inside, are very well laid out and plug and play for the most part if you have to add accessories. So it's a well thought out design, with the fundamentals being that it's based on the Mahindra Thar, but with completely new wiring and the transfer of the driver controls to the left for the North American market. So if you asked me, I would say the Mahindra Roxor is a pretty reliable vehicle. It's a pretty reliable UTV with very few points of failure. The two main ones, again, like I said, starter and the instrument gauge cluster. So there you have it, guys. That's what I had to share with you today. I will catch you guys on the next video. If you think of anything that I might have forgotten, please go ahead and share with us in the comment section. I will greatly appreciate that. Thanks for joining me once more on another trip talking about the Roxor. I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye.